Coming up on AI in the Classroom, we're learning English with AI. Hi, I'm Guy Trainin, a professor of education at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
And I'm Williams, a grad student at UNL.
And Williams is going to show us today how he's been using AI in different configurations to create lessons and apps that help teach English. So let's go.
Yeah, so today I will take you through how to use a combination of AI tools to create a lesson for your students. And so first of all, I used ChatGPT, and as teachers, one weapon that makes our work very successful is a lesson plan. And so I asked it to develop a lesson plan, and this is the lesson plan that it came out with. And so the prompt is create a lesson plan that teaches English verbs to elementary school children. And this is the lesson plan that was given. The materials needed are whiteboard, markers, flashcards with pictures. And with flashcards, it's very difficult and most of the time expensive to develop. And so we will shift away from this. And there was also a part that was activities that we are supposed to perform in the classroom. And that is an independent activity. Handout worksheets, as I already said, that developing worksheets is very difficult and time consuming.
Well, it's difficult, it's time consuming, and maybe most importantly, you cannot tailor it to specific students' level, or you can, but with a lot of extra work. If you don't have a printer, if you don't have a lot of papers, and a lot of schools are constrained with the resources they have. So this is a great way to start, remembering that whatever we're prompting, we are not beholden to. We can tinker with it, we can decide what fits our structure or not. And you can even in the request for the lesson plan, if you have specific constraints in your school, for example, we do not have access to printers, so I cannot print worksheets. You can say that in the prompt, adding that context and creating a situation where the solution a priori can include some of that. Let's go for the activity.
Yes.
So what's next?
So I took this independent activity that is supposed to be done and took it to Claude AI and asked it that, oh, this is an activity I'm supposed to do with my students in the classroom. And it says, sure, okay.
So it created a much more detailed description of how the activity would work.
Yes.
So you're amplifying and you're adding detail, and then?
And then I asked it, okay, create a game based on this. And this is the artifact that was created, and it gave me the game features and everything. And the reason why I chose Claude to do this is that it comes out with vibrant appearance when it comes to application development rather than using ChatGPT. So ChatGPT does good with lesson planning. They all do well. But I prefer Claude, and this is the activity that we are supposed to do. And so this is verb detector. You can do what we call picture match, or you can also find the verbs.
Okay,
so
let's do find the
verbs.
Yeah, let's try that one.
Okay, so
let's put barks.
Okay, barks.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. And you immediately get a new one. Let's pick a mistake. What happens?
Okay. Hi. That is wrong. 0.
And it gives you a tip. Verbs are action words or words that tell us, etc., etc. So there is a little bit of a hint.
Yes.
Yeah. What happens if you ask for a hint?
Okay, the hint. Look for words. It goes out quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is we can prompt it that, okay, we need the prompt should stay on the screen for a long time for the student to see.
Yeah, so we can improve. And remember, this is a first try. So we just launched and already got a working game, but we can tinker with it to make it a little bit better so it does everything that we want it to do. Let's try the picture match.
Okay, so you click on picture match. It also takes you to a lot rounds. Okay, so this is kind of a book, a picture of a book. So what do you do with a book? You read. And here, I think this guy is thinking.
I hope he's thinking.
But you can see that it's arranged them in line.
They're arranged.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's see a new
A
run.
new round will appear.
Yes. And this one, it's mixed up. So it's
Yes.
not always
Yes.
working the same way. Okay. So when you think about this as a teacher who taught multiple things, what do you think the benefits are?
The benefit is time consuming, and it helps teachers. For example, back in Ghana, I used to spend a lot of weekends planning my lessons that I'll teach, and also developing these flashcards. It's not an easy task at all. So with this digital way, students will be able to have more practice on the action verbs rather than having a few pictures of action words and verbs that you can match, which is very difficult. And so with this one, it's easy to have them have more practice to improve their English.
And for me, there are a few benefits to doing some design, even if you have a curriculum that's already ready to go, that has been provided. What this kind of activity can do is you can actually tailor this to the needs of students. So if we have some students who are more advanced and need more challenging exercises, so they might have the same kind of activity with verbs, but at a higher level or with more sophisticated verbs. So we're saying, well, for them, I need this to be considerably more sophisticated in the language, making sure that they're working at the level where they're being challenged. We know kids need to be challenged, and that's when they learn. And at the same time, you can also ratchet it down and say, well, I need a little bit simpler language. Let's use shorter sentences for students who are still finding this difficult. So the adjusting level and really individualizing is really important. The second piece is that this is a flexible medium that you can say, I want an app. I want something that will run in an HTML window, or I want an app for a phone. You can produce those as well. Or I really need this to be on paper, right? So you can actually use the context to design based on what is available to you at that moment. If you have a class full of Chromebooks, great. But if you don't, there's a solution. If you have one Chromebook, and I've seen many classes like that, where there's a device for every 2 or 3 students, you can say design an activity that will work if 2 students are working together on one device. And so it might prompt turns, or it might have 2 roles, one for each, and all of that. So that's another way that having the flexibility of design and just with one sentence being able to get a totally different results is so much better than just getting a few books in the mail saying, here's your curriculum and do this. While we are saying is wherever you're working, whatever you're using, we want also to anchor this to the expectations and to the standards wherever you are. So in Ghana, there are standards around what is expected in a 3rd grade English class. And so you want to make sure that you're anchoring into that while also adjusting it to the level of your students. Anything else you want to add?
No, that is all for today.
And we'll see you next time on AI in the Classroom.